was a really big deal, and I know people are still confused by it, but there's no question any longer. The Russians actively interfered in our election to help Donald Trump. There is no hoax. It's true.
But it was a hoax. Yet they're still running with it, and they're still rolling out new Russian stuff every single day. Joining me now, a great senator from the state of Wisconsin. We don't have many of them, Ron Johnson. Senator, what do you remember most about that Hillary Clinton Russia hoax thing? I thought it was so absurd. Right when they came out with it, I just thought it was ridiculous. But man, they took that ball and ran with it, and they're still running to this day.
Yeah, they've used Russia ever since the DNC server got hacked. And those emails started coming out. They were really devastatingly bad to people like John Podesta and Democrats in general. And so they came up with this Russia hacked into the DNC server. And then they got CrowdStrike to say that, yeah, it was Russia that hacked in. We've never seen verification of that, but it worked so well. It was such a great diversion to say, hey, let's try it again. And so the Hillary Clinton campaign, of course, they're the ones that paid for the Steele dossier. One of the subsources of that was somebody the FBI was investigating as a Russian spy. The FBI knew that. They understood that the Steele dossier was a Hillary Clinton political dirty trick. And yet we end up with a Mueller investigation. We've literally, our country's been put through this political turmoil for years now based on that lie, that political dirty trick. So again, it's galling to listen to Hillary Clinton, talk like that. But the fact of the matter is they have the mainstream media who knows that they know that they got played, that the Russian collusion, it was all a hoax. They've never, gotten upset at the people that fed them the false information. They continue to cover up and lie for the Democrat Party because they are basically the communication arm of the Democrat Party. It's not a level playing field. It's not a fair fight.
People forget John Durham came out after his investigation and pretty much confirmed what you just said. Here he was.
As our report details, the FBI was too willing to accept and use politically funded and uncorroborated opposition research, such as the Steele dossier. The FBI relied on the dossier in FISA applications, knowing that it was likely material originating from a political campaign, a political opponent. In this instance, there are any number of significant red flags that were raised that were simply ignored. If there's evidence that was inconsistent with the narrative, they didn't pay attention to it. They didn't explore it. They didn't take the logical investigative steps that should have been taken.
Senator, why was nobody at the FBI ever held to account for that? Hillary Clinton and the media being filthy liars is nothing that's going to shock anybody watching this show. And it's honestly not anything that can destroy the country, but a state police agency that lies like that for the reasons it lied, that can destroy a country. What's going on at the FBI?
Because Joe Biden won the election and it was all covered up. So these people have never been held to account. And by the way, fast forward from 2016 to 2020, and then the greatest amount of political interference in U.S. history occurred right before the 2020 election. This was all prompted by the current Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, prompted Mike Morrell, former assistant or deputy director of the CIA, to get this letter signed by 51 intelligence officials, both Republican and Democrat. It shows you how deep and pervasive the deep state is, to say the Hunter Biden laptop, even though the FBI knew it was genuine, that it was accurate, they signed the letter saying that it had all the hallmarks of a Russian information operation. Well, that letter itself was an information operation, interfered in our election to the far greater extent than anything Russia or China could ever hope to accomplish. And of course, the mainstream media ran with it and still have not held those individuals accountable. So again, the only way these people get held accountable is if Donald Trump wins in 2024, we get the majorities in the House and Senate, and then we can try to hold them accountable. My guess is President Trump will want to do so.
How many times have the FBI and intelligence agencies run operations against the American people for political purposes? You and I have been talking for about 3 or 4 minutes now, And we just laid out some pretty frightening things taking place from within the government. How often does this happen? Do these organizations see themselves as having a role in our elections?
So why do you think that we've never released, even though it's by law they're supposed to release all the documents of the JFK assassination? What I've been learning about what happened with Richard Nixon, and I was back there reading Time magazine going, yeah, let's get this guy, he's corrupt. What you find out now is, well, Deep Throat was the deputy director of the FBI. All the plumbers were CIA agents. The primary person who pushed the cover up was John Dean, who got off scot-free, has been made a hero in the mainstream media. So I don't know. I think our federal government has been lying to us for decades, and they'll continue to lie to us as long as people don't understand it, if they're never held accountable. That's one of the reasons it's so important to hold these people accountable. When we've got them, when we know what has happened, we have to hold them accountable.
What can Trump and the Senate do if he is elected? And I ask this because people who don't really necessarily understand how the government works, how the laws work, they think to themselves, Trump can get elected and he can just walk in and fire every FBI agent or something along those lines, or that Ron Johnson can do that. But you can't. Okay, that's fine. What can we do?
I think it starts with releasing the JFK assassination files. And we'll find out what a grotesque cover-up the Warren Commission was. And I think truth will be revealed there. Again, I've read enough in terms of books that it's pretty obvious there was some involvement, some connection there. I don't know all of it, but it gets pretty detailed in terms of who knew what when and who did what when. But first release that so that the American public realize, oh, we have been lied to. One of the reasons I've been pushing so hard on COVID and the vaccine mandates and the vaccine injuries is our federal government during COVID completely lied to us. They were the ones that are pushing misinformation. They're the ones that sabotaged early treatment with the use of cheap generic drugs that worked. And because they're sabotaged, probably hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives that didn't have to. Okay, so you have to use those instances where we just have them cold, where it's obvious these people have lied and cheated. Now, we'll still have to overcome the power of the media because they're complicit in this. They don't want to be caught. They're not going to admit they were wrong. You're not going to hear any mea culpas coming out of the media. I mean, for example, where are the Washington Post giving back their Pulitzer Prizes for the Russian collusion hoax? They're not doing it. So again, it's not going to be easy, but I just have to believe, Jesse, or I wouldn't be still doing this, that eventually truth will have its own power, but it has to get out. And that's what Trump has to do. He has to release the JFK assassination files. That will be, again, hopefully the unraveling of the deep state and the exposure of these lies that we've been told for decades.
I agree with you. I think those things need to be released. Trump has promised to release them, but that also begs the question, Senator, why have they never been released? JFK died in 1963. Here we are in the year of our Lord 2024. It's a long time ago. So very clearly, some entity with a significant amount of power doesn't want those things released. What other conclusion can I possibly draw from all this?
Again, Trump, when he got elected, had told people that he was going to release those. And then apparently Mike Pompeo, then the CIA director, went to him and just begged him not to release them, and Trump didn't. I think Trump regrets that decision. I don't think he'll make the same mistake if he gets elected again. So, again, hope that Trump wins this election, and I can't imagine he won't honor that promise. I think those documents. Now, the question will be, will people in the deep state actually release all the documents? So it's not exactly like those are sitting in Trump's Mar-a-Lago. Finally, we're going to have to rely on the deep state to release the documents in total. We'll have to probably investigate whether that's actually happened or not.
I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.